Hello and welcome back to the port. I'm Gav Major, and this is a review of the Japanese Tier 5 premium battleship, the Hyūga, which is available for 10,000 doubloons. Now this is a Tier 5 and 4 game of domination on Greece, and I'll just have to get my ship in position before I go through the shipping forecast. But we should be alright, just to quickly go for it now. So, Matsuki, Furataka, Emily Patin, Aoba, Kondō, Izumo, Andre Doria, California and a New Mexico, so nothing particularly that I'm going to be concerned about necessarily, I guess you could say. So, Hyūga, she's a member of the two strong Issei class of battleships which were built for the Imperial Japanese Navy and was commissioned in 1918. This was basically a development from the Fuso class, which obviously came before. I think I might have to do a little combo here. I'm going to fire, and then I'm going to do that and that. I should have launched the aircraft before I fired. Let's see if we can get another volley downrange. We'll have to get moving. Yes, that's a cheeky little combo that I do with the Hyūga because the main battery reload booster, but we'll talk about that when we obviously get there. So, continuing with the Hyūga, yes, commissioned in 1918 to basically be an evolution from the Fuso class. Now, these were, the two members of the class were converted into battle carriers in 1943 to obviously make up for the loss of carriers during Midway, and there's a concept of having the ability to launch a fighter cap from battleships in order to protect the fleet, I guess you could say. Now, Dragon Fennell has done one of his glorious 5-minute videos regarding the history of this class, and that will be obviously carded top right now. Quite a lot going on here. So, as always, in comparison to the tech tree, Tier 5 battleships when fully upgraded. So, starting off with survivability, she has a very high base HP of 60,700. She's also got highest HP pool as well, thanks to her repair parties, which will base-wise grant her a total of 86,152 HP. Now, when it comes to the torpedo reduction, you have the joint third best with a reduction of 3%, and when it comes to 34%, I should say, sorry. And when it comes to the armor viewer, it's always best to go back to the port and take a look at it there, really, isn't it? So, back in the port, taking a look at the arm scheme of the Hyūga. So, let's start off with the superstructure. That's quite typical where we start. So, that is mostly covered in 16mm plating. Now, there are certain sections which are slightly thicker, like the command system, probably parts that end up connecting with the barbets of the turrets, but generally 16mm plating all over, which obviously can ricochet 8-inch AP shells if angled, but obviously that's a bit, that's going to be a nifty trick if you can do that, but otherwise, yeah, it's just going to be the harvestable area which can be damaged by high explosives, fires, and overpenned by arm-piercing shells. Now, it's worth noting that most superstructure is all kind of amidships or forward amidships, but there is that small part which is obviously slightly astern, just ahead of X-turret, I guess you could say. Moving on, let's do the torpedo protection. So the torpedo protection is quite substantial on the Hyūga. It does go quite far forwards and quite far aft, therefore obviously reducing the chances of flooding in that area where it is present. So if you want guaranteed flooding, you're going to have to be really hitting Hyūga right on the tail or right on the nose with torpedoes. It's also worth mentioning it's 32mm thick, which is capable of ricocheting up to 16-inch AP shells, which is quite an interesting trait. So really, we're using her torpedo bolt, she can pretty much angle against 16-inch shells if she so wishes. And let's take away the torpedo protection, and you can see the more substantial armour underneath. Moving on to the bow and the stern. And this is mostly covered in 26mm plating on the sides and on the deck, meaning that you can angle against 14-inch shells. Now there are some parts of the hull which is thicker, stern and aft, but they are below the waterline unfortunately, so they won't really have too much impact on your kind of playstyle, I guess you say. So you can barrel tank 14-inch guns, or AP I should say. So that means against, say, most tier 4 battleships, for example, you pretty much can go nose on, or you can angle against them. It's only at tier 5 where you get some battleships which could overmatch your bow and stern, and also there will be quite a few tier 6s which can do that as well. Taking that away, you can start to see some of the rather funky casement armor which is happening behind the scenes, and we're going to try and break through this in a couple of different layers. First of all is basically what is the main armoured belt, which is up to 292mm thick, and as you can see it's got a bit of a funny angle on the front as well, and it's also got a bit of a weird step at the rear as well. Now when it comes to your deck plating, it's only 32mm thick, but that's sufficient for 16-inch guns, so generally it looks like quite a survivable armour scheme when it comes to the above water part of it at least. Moving on, let's do the turrets and the barbettes. Now you can see that they go all the way down to the citadel, and you can see that the citadel has some funny steps in it, but we'll talk about that when we get to those. So the turrets are covered in substantial plating from 76mm up to 299mm, which means generally the turrets seem to be quite survivable. It's all just down to RNG, I guess you could say. So let's have a look at that citadel. It is quite large, obviously, because of the placement of the turrets, and is in places ever so slightly above the waterline. It's also got some very funky shapes. In some areas it's kind of turtle backed, in other areas it's stepped in towards the centre, meaning it's got kind of spaced armour, but then also it can be closer to the outside of the hull towards the rear, and furthermore we have this kind of sloped step down at the rear as well, which means the citadel is it looks like basically someone stacked a load of shoe boxes together, is the best way to put it. Now when it comes to the armour of this, it's kind of all over the shop. You got some 25mm, but the most that's quite low down. So generally, the stuff that you're going to be concerned about, so say the decking of that, you got 32mm to 167mm, depending where you are. And yeah, this seems to be generally the story which happens with the citadel. So generally, I mean, if you're shooting at the citadel of the Hyūga, it seems like the one you want to be going for, if you can, is that big box which is underneath the aft superstructure. That potentially seems to be the slightly easiest to hit. Furthermore, if you're dropping AP bombs, looking at it, obviously midships is always a good place to put it. But maybe, again, if you can go for the rear superstructure, you might do alright if you can punch through there into that thinner armour. Otherwise, it's going to be the main superstructure, or maybe the funnels, but God, bear in mind that citadel is slightly thinner in those locations. Anyway, so that's the citadel, and that is all the arm scheme of the Hyūga, and give you a nice look at the overall permanent camouflage as well, which is actually rather tasteful. Anyway, let's get back to the game and see how we're doing. Well, welcome back as we get a volley away on the New Mexico. So, on to the artillery. We have 12 number 14-inch guns mounted in 6 dual gun turrets. We have A turret with B turret super firing up front. We have X turret with super firing over Y turret at the rear. And last but not least, we have 2 turrets amidships. We have basically Q turret with P turret super firing, I guess you could say. And they're both rearward facing, so you do have basically a total broadside of 12 guns, 4 front, 4 aft, and when it comes to kiting, she does seem to favour kiting away from the enemy compared to kiting towards. Now, these guns will offer you the second longest range of 16.2 kilometers for the tier, second fastest reload as well of 29 seconds. And joint second fastest turret reverse speed of 45 seconds per 180 degrees of rotation. At the moment, we've kind of got ourselves angled for the New Mexico, who's tucked himself into an island, which is intriguing. Not much we can do. Gonna have to maybe see if we can dig him out. Now, when it comes to the shell damages, she has the joint second highest HE shell damage of 5,700. However, joint lowest fire chance of only 25%. So the high explosive hits hard, but the chance of setting a fire is pretty much negligible, and I think that New Mexico is all gone. So on that basis, I'm gonna maybe turn my ship around and start pushing in a bit more aggressively, I guess you could say. Now, when it comes to the AP, she has the joint third lowest AP shell damage. So the AP doesn't hit hard, but when you get that number of guns and that reload time, things start to get, I guess you could say, a little bit interesting. So when it comes to the DPMs, she has the second highest HE DPM and the second highest AP DPM. So quite a lot of shells being thrown down range, I guess you'd say. However, she has the joint second lowest fires per minute. So again, it's that fire chance kind of not being helpful, I guess you could say. Maneuverability wise, she has an above average speed of 25.3 knots, which is obviously quite favourable. However, she has the second largest turning circle of 750 meters and the joint slowest rotor shift of 15 seconds. So maneuverability is certainly not one of her strong suits. Then when it comes to concealment, she has the joint second largest detectability by sea of 14.5 kilometers. Furthermore, she has a detectability by air of 11.6 kilometers and a detectability when firing from smoke of 12.5 kilometers. Now I'm noting that the California is nicely out of the way, so we're going to do spotter aircraft, reload booster, and hopefully get a shell away. We might have fluffed it just a little bit, but our shell should reload quite nicely. And what we might do, just fire what we can when we can. It looks like she's turning away though. But she's now all torpedoed up, so we can now re-angle to engage the targets to the centre and front. So, consumable wise, okay, we're clear of those torpedoes, that's good. Yeah, consumable wise, she has the typical damage control party for a battleship with a 10-second duration and an 80-second reload. Last but not least, she has 3 repair parties. These will heal a total of 8,484 HP each. And that works out as 303 HP per second for 28 seconds with an 80-second reload. Now, I do know I said last but not least, but I don't really. There is more. She has a main battery reload booster, which I've tried to use effectively, but maybe not so this game, which basically reduces the reload time of your main battery by 50% for 15 seconds, and that has a 180-second reload. Also, she does have another consumable slot which has options, I guess you could say. You can pick between having enhanced secondary targeting, you can have a catapult fighter, or you could choose to have the spotter aircraft like I have in this case. Now, I've chosen the spotter aircraft because it has a kind of a combo effect, I find, with the main battery reload booster, although I've been a little distracted, I guess you could say, this game, and not really used it as effectively as I could have. Now, commander build and modules will be down in the description. Ooh, where'd you come from, you cheeky devil? Have you all broadside, so well, let's see if we can return the favour. So yes, as I was saying, commander build and modules will be down in the description, if you so choose to look into it. Now, when it comes to the modules, I have written them down. I have taken aiming systems module 1 and propulsion module 2. I've just got to watch out for that Ismail. But apart from that, we should be alright. Use 2 turrets for you. But I don't want to open up in case the Ismail's right, basically ready and waiting. So that's basically the review all over and done with. So now it's just turned into a let's play where we play the game and hopefully pay full attention to what's going on and try and give it our best shot without reading out of a notebook. Yeah. Ooh. That's going to be very tempting when we come around the corner. Although we're going to angle into it because I'm expecting the Ismail will get the first shot off. So hoping our armour is going to be a little bit survivable. Shame's quite forward, but we should be alright. And now we can maybe take advantage of that exposed Russian citadel. There we go. Now we're going to tuck it back in because we're not going to take any chances. Especially this range, and we will be using a repair party. Yeah, we might as well encourage our secondary battery to do the best they can. Now, amusingly with Japanese secondaries, they arm AP. She looks like she's opening up. We will use the front two turrets to no avail. And then we might maybe see if we can. Ooh, do you think maybe we could do a bit of a drive-by? It's going to be tough. I think we're just going to watch our positioning. Oh, that's alright then. And that just leaves the California. Now, amusingly, I've got a lot of battleships behind me, but we should be alright. Just got to watch our positioning against the California, not open up too much, but we should be alright. And what I'll probably aim to do is just use high explosive because she's staying very well angled, so you can kind of tell a reasonably experienced player who's played the game for a little while. So what we're hoping for, there you go, there's a fire. So she's staying angled against us, which is very good play, because we've only got 14-inch guns and her armour's more than capable of ricocheting that. And she's damage controlled, so there's no point me firing right now, because American damage control party lasts for 30 seconds. So my front guns are reloaded, that was 29 seconds, and she damage controlled, so maybe about now would be a good time to see if we can set her on fire. The shells went way off to the right there. But we're going to continue chasing her down, I think. Well, I don't really think there's going to be much happening. I mean, we have to kill the California in order to win. And the problem is, they played a little bit too cautiously. I can see why the Connigs played it a bit cautiously. Hopefully these shells land on target. There's a fire. She's now swinging to open up amusingly, so she's going to try and give us a full broadside of 12 guns because she knows we've only got HE loaded. But that all ricochets off, and so we've got 1 minute and 20, so that's probably about another 2 volleys. If we can get another volley like that, we should be alright. There we go, the rest of the team chipping in quite nicely. So, that was quite a sneaky little win, I guess. The enemy team kind of clutched defeat from the jaws of victory, I guess you could say. They did kind of have our team on the ropes for a little bit, and then it kind of all went wrong for them, I guess you could say. So, walking away with a total amount of 154,000 damage from 7 citadels, 79 hits on target, 3 fires, and 27 secondary hits as well, getting 2 kills, getting Confederate devastating strike and high caliber. Not going to complain too much about that. Team wise, top of the team with a total amount of XP of 2,317. That is obviously with a 1.5 multiplier for being on the winning team, so I'm again not going to complain about that. Economy wise, walking away with a total profit of 265,000 credits with a premium count, and that's after a ship service cost of 45,000 credits, give or take. Now we'll see as a tier 5 premium she does have an improved credit earning potential, so even the base amount of credits that I've earned is more than the typical tech tree tier 5 battleship. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this, and if you have, feel free to give it a thumbs up. Down in the description is the link to Patreon if you want to support the channel on Patreon, also the image of the channel if you want to send in any of your own game captures, along with the commander build and the modules used during this review. And if you are a Patreon, your lovely name will be appearing on the end screen. Until next time, I'm the Gaff Major, and back to the port.
Hey, hey, clear the way, here comes the galloping Major. Bumpity, 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 bump. Get out of the way there, you fellows, unless you want me to run you down. I guess this is the life. Now, hey, hey, clear the way, here comes the galloping